What's rockin' and rollin', everybody? How's it going? My name is Roggen Boggin, and I am the coach of the Minnesota Spikings. Here today, I am going to discuss our draft analysis for Season 11 of the Ace Trainers Battle Association. Now, this is a league I've been a part of for a few seasons now. I want to say this is our 5th season with them, maybe not. Definitely a fun league, ran by a great group of people and a lot of awesome and talented coaches in it as well. We have made playoffs multiple times in this league, and we do have a championship under our belt as well with them. Very excited for this season, though, because we are making the change to have it be a Switch League as opposed to using Showdown. And I think that is something a lot of the coaches are very excited for. So going into this draft, being a Gen 8 draft, I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to take, but once the draft order was revealed, we actually ended up with the number 1 overall pick. And interestingly enough, the season we did win ATBA, we had the number 1 pick as well. That time we took Aegislash. This time I wanted to take something, something fun, something new, something I most likely won't ever get to draft again. And with that pick, the mon that stood out to me was Dragapult. And Dragapult is just a phenomenal mon, and honestly one that is often questioned whether it is too good for Draft League. I have seen it banned in a few different leagues, but ATBA decided to allow it, and I will absolutely fully abuse that. So, looking at Dragapult, this pseudo menace. First, we'll take a look at his stats here, and right away you got to respect that base 142 speed. This thing is significantly faster than a majority of the meta, really only being outsped by a couple mons. The only relevant one that comes to mind right now is Zeraora. Also has an awesome attack stat at 120 and a respectable special attack stat at 100 as well. That Ghost Dragon typing is just so good offensively. There are so few mons that can actually properly handle that. And even then, Dragapult does get the coverage to handle a majority of those. Some awesome abilities for draft format as well. With Dragapult, you've got the clear body, so if you do opt to run like Choice Bandit or Dragon Dance set or really anything physical, this mon does not care about Intimidators. Also very nice because with that high speed, it doesn't have to worry about sticky webs as well. Also has an Infiltrator, which is pretty cool because you can just pass through substitutes and screens in that sense. And that is a pretty decent way to check this mon, I would say. Just got a couple moves here that I think are relevant on it. Dragon Dart's such a cool move. Multi-hitting move, each with a base 50 power. So if something's like sashed or behind a sub, whatever, you can essentially break that and still get damage on it. Also has Hex as an option. Pair that with its ability to use status moves such as Willow or Thunderwave is very good for this mon. Has a pretty cool special move pool as well. You got the fire coverage with Fire Blast and Flamethrower, you got water coverage with Hydro Pump and Scald, Shadow Ball and Draco for primary stab options, and also gets Tri-Attack, which could be fun for some shenanigans. And that's physical coverage is pretty solid too. You got your Dragon Darts or Dragon Claw. You also got the Phantom Force. This thing does not get Shadow Claw, which is a little unfortunate, but Phantom Force is still a pretty strong move, even if it is 2-turn hitting. So if any opponents don't have a normal type, I think that's pretty spammable. Got Psychic Fangs for, opposing poison types or whatnot. U-turn is an awesome pivot move for it, with it being as fast as it is. It is going to outspeed majority of mons as well as a lot of Scarfers Well, so it's almost always going to be able to get that U-turn off before it can be hit by something threatening like that. And yeah, just super happy with this pick. I do have a front office in the prep hub of people who have also used this mon as well. Fun fact, Dragapult did win ATBA last season when used by the Shoe Warrior, and he has so generously offered to help me this season with prep, because I would say there are very few people who know this mon as well as he, so I'm very excited to team build with him. Next up here, so being the first pick and it being a snake draft, we did have the wheel pick. With 12 coaches in the league, that makes, for quick maths, 22 picks before the pick came back to us. So I really didn't know what was going to be available. My initial plan, I really wanted to get Grimmsnarl. Unfortunately, that got picked very shortly before us. So figured, a good backup pick for that mon, why not go with the other Prankster Fairy? And we decided to go with Klefki. I do know that I misspelled Klefki on the layout, so pay attention if anyone's actually watching this. Go ahead and tell me in the comments that I misspelled Klefki. So Klefki, it's honestly a pretty straightforward mon, but it does have a lot of different things it can do. That Prankster ability just being so good for it. I very rarely do I think we'll ever actually have to run Magician on this thing, but you never know. I could probably think of a gimmicky set to run with it that would make it work. Pretty solid stats all around. It can use physical attacks or special attacks fairly equally. With that Prankster ability, this thing will hardly ever need to actually run speed. So more than likely, I'll be bringing this mon as a defensive check to something that would threaten Dragapult. My kind of mindset with building this team was focus Dragapult. It's coming every single game, no matter what. And the more mons I can have that can kind of support it and help it shine, the better. And I feel like Klefki did a really good job of that. So we got the Spikes here as its primary hazard. We are the Minnesota Spikings, so naturally we do need spikes. Also, able to remove hazards as well with Defog, which is a nice move it got, I believe, as of Gen 7, if I'm not mistaken. Along with that Prankster, this thing is very good at setting screens. So, you don't even need the light screen and reflect. You can choose one or the other depending on how the matchup looks. And it can also set status with Thunderwave and Toxic. Couple other fun things it can do. You got switcheroo shenanigans. So if you want to give your opponent a lagging tail or a black sludge, that is always fun. Can even go offensive with it too and run like a Calm Mind Stored Power set, or if you want to going back to that trick option, you can trick a choice item onto a mon. Even has Iron Defense, so this thing surprisingly can do a lot of different things despite kind of being a one-dimensional Prankster mon. And yeah, I think that Steel Fairy typing is just super cool, and very few mons can actually deal with that. So with the wheel pick, we got to pick two mons back to back. And since losing out on Grimmsnarl, aside from being a Prankster Fairy, it is a very strong Dark type. And I definitely didn't want to lose that with that team because, bulkier Dark types do pair so well with Dragapult. And a couple of people suggested I should heavily consider Mandibuzz. So that is what we ended up going with. And Mandibuzz is a really annoying mon. Everyone knows that. Very, very hard defensive mon to handle for a lot of teams. And if you don't have kind of that prominent electric, ice, or fairy type, or rock type to deal with it, this thing kind of just walls out your team. So, very respectable speed stat for a defensive Mon with that base 80. Gonna allow for some nice speed creeping shenanigans in prep. Equally solid defenses with the regular defense and special defense. With its abilities, I really like Overcoat on this Mon. If you ever are facing opposing sand or hail, you're not going to be taking that residual damage for it. And if you got an opponent who likes to spam Sleep Powder, Spore, or Stun Spore, this thing just doesn't care about it. So that is really cool. Big Pex is, situational, but could definitely come into play if someone's got, a Mon that spams a move that can lower your defense, like Liquidation or something. But I do enjoy the weak armor as well, because you can switch this thing into an offensive Mon that would normally outspeed it and has coverage. But if you switch it in on the right attack and suddenly you outspeed it afterwards, you got a good Mon. As far as its moves go, it does have a lot of utility going for it. Primarily what comes to mind is Knockoff and U-Turn on this thing are so good. Given this is Gen 8 and there are no Megas, anytime you click Knockoff for the first time, you are removing an item no matter what. So that is really cool. And U-Turn, just bulky pivots are always good. Any opportunity I can get to freely get in Dragapult, I will gladly take that. Also have to respect the foul play of this Mon. So if you got like a Swords Dance or an offensive setup sweeper, they often can't just blindly set up on this thing because it's just gonna wreck their face with a foul play. Also got a pretty, not the highest special attack, but it's got a decent enough special move pool to where, if you want to spam Dark Pulse or Heat Wave for steel types, I think they can wall this thing. If I'm really feeling frisky, I could run a Nasty Plot set. We'll have to see if the matchup opts for that, but I think that'd be very fun to try to pull off eventually this season. And then you got, other nice utility moves, like Toxic is always good on a Mon with reliable recovery, Taunt for opposing, slower setup Mons or anything that's trying to get hazards up on this thing. And then the Defog's just invaluable. Heavy Duty Boots are so good for this Mon, and this will be my primary hazard remover this season. So majority of matches I probably will have that Defog Roost tech on there and then just random coverage moves. But, we'll see. I think there's a lot of fun things this Pokemon can do, and I'm looking forward to exploiting them. So that's our first 3 picks. Draft proceeded. I really didn't have much of a plan after this, so I kind of just wanted to see what was getting picked and what was getting available. I figured that on the way back, I definitely wanted a Rock Setter, and as well as a Water type, which I think every successful draft should have, whether it's like an offensive Water or a bulky Water or both. Such a good typing. And I was surprised to see this Mon fall to me, and I could not let it sit any longer, so I took Seismitoad. And I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Seismitoad. I understand it's a great Mon. It has awesome coverage, good abilities, and well-rounded stats. I just think it's kind of a dumb Mon. But I can't deny how good it is, how useful it is. It's got those well-rounded stats, so you can tailor this thing to be physically offensive, specially offensive, defensive, specially defensive, some janky, fast, bulky utility set, whatever you want with it. Definitely want it. Being my first rocker, it is a very good rocker. And sorry about that. With the groundwater typing, it is only weak to grass. And given we have 3 Mons already that are resistant to grass type, I figured it was a really good fit for it. I was also a big fan of this because of the water absorb ability. At this point in the draft, there are already 2 established rain teams, and I feel like everyone was kind of panicking to get a water type. I apologize. There's a siren going off right now, and my dogs like to howl at them, so you can probably hear them in the background, maybe. Yeah, like that. So, hopefully they don't last too long. You know, we'll just kind of sit here and wait for this to ride out. Sometimes they don't take too long, sometimes they go on for a couple minutes, so yeah, enjoy the dogs. I have two dogs. They are Dempsey, the Siberian Husky, and Freddy, the Alaskan Malamute. Very vocal, as you can hear, and yeah, they're very good boys, and I love them very much. So, getting back to Seismitoad here. Like I was saying, there's 2 established rain teams in the league, and that water absorbability is huge for properly dealing with them. If I do want to get cheeky, I can run Swift Swim as well. Klefki does have access to Rain Dance, and I can self-set that for him if the matchup opts for it. Like I said, aside from being a rocker, this thing has crazy good coverage. You've got Earthquake and Earth Power, as well as Hydro Pump, Scald, and Liquidation for stab offenses on both the special and physical side. It also has really good fighting coverage to hit any freeze-dry ice types. You got the poison option with Poison Jab, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave to deal with slower grass types. As well as Ice Punch, or, you know, I did not know this thing actually doesn't get Ice Beam. That's really interesting. This thing also, for whatever reason, gets Grass type coverage in Power Whip and Grass Knot. That is just obnoxious to me, but I will happily take it. And then, you know, you got, if I do decide to run a more defensive set, you know, you got the Toxic option. Knockoff to remove items is always nice. Might find a week where Endeavor could be cool, but yeah, super versatile mon, and I am all for it. So we'll see if after this season my dislike for Seismitoad gets a little better. On this wheel pick, for our 5th pick, there was one mon besides Dragapult that I had my eye on that I knew for sure I wanted in this draft. I think it was heavily undervalued in points, and it did manage to fall to me. I knew a bunch of people were looking at it. I knew it wouldn't last if I didn't take it now. So we grabbed the mascot himself of the Minnesota Spikings and took Heracross. Heracross, if you do not know, is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. He's always been a top 3 and has been my favorite for many years, ever since I saw him in Gen 2. So super happy I was able to get him in this league. Monstrous attack stat at 125, which can be further boosted by, you know, Guts, Moxie, setup options, and Swords Dance and Bulk Up. Really fast too, especially in this gen. 85 is not to be slept on, and with a Scarf that can outspeed most mons. Along with that, his abilities, you know, probably not going to use Swarm all that much, but, you know, there might be a situation where it'll be prevalent. Guts is amazing, because with my team, as it is so far, and people apparently liking to spam status on me, great status absorber. I can run a Flame Orb on it, or if I know the opponent has, like, you know, really likes to run Willow or has a Flame Body Mon, I just can attack and not care about that. Moxie is also cool because, you know, like I said, with the Scarf set, or even if it's just setup Mon who's faster than the rest of the team in general, you know, it can clean up a late game and just steamroll through. Heracross this gen, really cool that it also got spikes. So this is our second spiker for the Minnesota Spikings. Love that this thing got the hazard now. And just has a really potent offensive move pool. Mega Horn is an amazing move, and I absolutely love it, especially on this mon. You also got options for stab in Pin Missile, Close Combat, Brick Break if someone decides to bring screens, Low Kick, Arm Thrust maybe, like just super cool. And then you got your coverage options with the knockoff, you got Earthquake or High Horsepower, Bullet Seed if other people have opposing water ground types that I feel like I need to hit with that. You got Facade 2 to further boost if you got that Guts boost from a status. Shadow Claw, Night Slash, Throat Chop, Stone Edge or Rock Slide, or even Rock Blast. So really, really cool. Absolutely love this mon, and I am super happy to have managed to get it. So if we aren't able to make Dragapult a kill leader and MVP of this season, then definitely going to try to pull that off with Heracross. After this, I was really happy with how our team was looking, and pretty much the rest of the draft was just kind of taking low and mid tiers to kind of round out those roles that we still needed to be filled. Once the draft came back to us and we had our next two picks, there was one mon that stood out that I thought fit very well with us and that I wanted. I did have its pre-evolution last season, and even though it was only brought to a couple games, I thought it did very well, and the whole time I was thinking, man, if this thing was just the evolved form, there's so many cool things I could do with it. And that mon was Colossal. And Colossal here is going to be our third spiker for the Minnesota Spikings. And it is just a bulky boy. The rock fire typing might turn off a few people, being that it is 4 times weak to water and ground. And then it has a couple other mutual weaknesses as well in like rock and fighting and yada yada. But this thing is not to be slept on in terms of its bulk. That base 110 HP paired with a 120 defense and 90 SPDF, amazing. Yet another mon on our team that can run physical or special. Very cool indeed. It's got reliable abilities in the flame body in case there's any physical threats I want to get a burn on, or the flash fire even that gives it a fire immunity and can boost its own fire moves. Steam Engine is a really cool ability, and while I don't know how often we'll be running it, because I don't know how often I'll be able to rely on this thing taking a water move, if I can maybe find a fire type like, I don't know, let's say Darmanitan and catch it on a Flare Blitz and then suddenly outspeed it and threaten it with our Rock Stab, like that'll be really cool. This is another hazard remover as well, with the Rapid Spin. And, fire types are just so good this gen, being able to run the heavy duty boots and not care about rocks or spikes, and Colossal here is no exception. So very good hazard control, having access to the stealth rocks and the spikes and being able to remove hazards without taking his own away is just really cool. This is a mon where with his high defense, I really like body press on it, and I think it is a great coverage option for him. He has a plethora of fire type attacks on the physical and special side, a respectable amount of rock type attacks as well, with the Stone Edge or Rock Slide or Rock Blast. Special rock moves pretty much only consist of Ancient Power and one of my new favorite moves, Meteor Beam. So, might find a week where I can pull off that spicy Meteor Beam Colossal set. I do love that this thing also gets Scald and Scorching Sand. I think that is amazing for this mon and super fun. And then you got your other options like Will-O-Wisp. You got Iron Defense if you want to do the setup body press set. Does get high horsepower and Earthquake as well. And also has the Fun Explosion tech. So, yeah, really cool mon. Carkol popped off for me a couple times last season, and I expect Colossal to do the same, if not better. So on this wheel pick, kind of looking at how our draft was rounding out. We had a lot of kind of mixed offensive mons, and we had Heracross as kind of an established physical attacker. So I definitely wanted to get more of an established special attacker, as well as kind of something a little faster, since our speed tiers, I think we had a gap from like Dragapult at 140 to Heracross at 85. So definitely wanted to kind of like mend that ground a little bit. And another mon that kind of stood out to me that I haven't drafted before but wanted to use quite a bit for some time was Espeon. Espeon now, my personal favorite of the evolutions, and I've drafted just about every other evolution prior to this. You know, I've used Sylveon with great success. I've had Jolteon, Leafeon I've used. I don't think I've actually drafted Umbreon, so that might be the exception. I did have Glaceon last season in ATBA, and it put in work, so definitely part of a reliable evolutionary line. All have done very well for me, and I expect Espeon to do much of the same. Got that base 110 speed, so being able to outspeed those base 100s is awesome, and then that monstrous base 130 special attack. It did get kind of nerfed this gen, not having access to hidden power, but it still has pretty reliable coverage options. You know, it's got the, like majority of psychic types, it's got access to Psychic as well as Psyshock. So, does have a way of properly dealing with those specially defensive walls. Also has Dazzling Gleam to threaten out those dark types that might want to come in on it, or Shadow Ball for those ghost types. And then it's also got Grass Knot, which is kind of cool. Yeah, not the best move pool in terms of coverage, but it being part of a evolution line, it does have a lot of great utility as well. Has access to Wish and Yawn for a bulkier set. Also has Morning Sun for self recovery, which is really cool. Can set up screens for us, has a heal bell to provide a cleric option, and you know, just a solid, straightforward mon with what it can do. Magic Bounce is great. If I get in any matchups where I think the opponent's gonna want to set webs against me, or like get their own hazards or status or something, I can just freely swap this in and send it back. We kind of got really good status and hazard control with this team so far, and Espeon only further promotes that. My goal this season, because I've seen it happen twice already with this mon, is to get a sweep against someone with a very reliable psychic check, such as like a steel type or something. Yeah, I've seen it happen a couple times, and I know this mon is capable of doing it. So that is kind of my main goal with this thing. At this point in the draft, you know, team is looking very, very solid. Really, it's just kind of filling, you know, niche roles at this point. And something I always value on my teams is a good electric type, be it one with, you know, an electric immunity or something that's fast. I've always had success with fast electric types, regardless of what tier they are. And I saw one sitting around that I've drafted a couple times before and has usually been pretty reliable to me, and decided, you know, we'll take it one more time because it's just a good overall mon. And that mon happens to be Raichu. And Raichu is a great mon. Mainly because it's got that lightning rod ability, so it provides an electric immunity for us that can also boost our mon. So right now our only electric weakness is Mandibuzz, but seeing as that's one of the few ways that can actually deal with that mon, I figured having the lightning rod would be phenomenal for it. Another mon with the base 110 speed, so kind of further pressuring people to run Choice Scarf or webs against us to properly handle with our faster threats. Not the bulkiest in terms of defense, but does have a respectable base 80 special defense, so this thing can successfully use an Assault Vest set very well. Or it can just be straight up offensive, which is kind of where it shines a little more. generally more of a special attacker, but can also use physical attack successfully. The main reason I wanted this was for that fast Volt Switch to kind of pair with our U-turn on Dragapult and Mandibuzz, as well as our Baton Pass for Espeon, I suppose. But just a great Volt Switch, also has access to Thunderbolt, Discharge, Volt Tackle as well if I want to go physical. I think the main appeal that I really like this Mon is its variety of coverage moves. You've got the Surf and Grass Knot to properly deal with ground types that want to check this thing. You got the utility of Knockoff, which is always a good move on any Mon. You could Wish Pass with this thing even if you want to. I'm personally a big fan of Quick Attack, but this thing takes it further and has Extreme Speed as well. So priority is always nice. I've used Encore on this thing with success before. And then we have to acknowledge the Focus Punch. At least once every season I have to attempt a Focus Punch on this Mon. If not for me, then for my Cocoa Shoe. So, yeah, really fun Mon. Always a great low tier pick, in my opinion, and can be good on any team that kind of lacks that electric type. So, paired with this on the wheel, like I said, our team was pretty well established. It was just kind of filling out low tier niche roles at this point. And I figured I wanted a poison type to not only absorb toxic spikes, but be able to set our own should the matchup suggest it. And there really wasn't much available left for the points that I had remaining. So I've seen this Mon drafted a few times. I don't really get the appeal for it because I think it's pretty easy to handle, but figured, what the heck, let's give it a try. It fills the roles we need. And we took Baby Toxipex. And this stupid little thing, like I said, really only took it for toxic spikes and to have that established poison type to remove them ourselves. Everything else is just kind of a bonus. I'd be surprised if I brought this thing to more than 2 matches this season, but, you know, it could surprise us. With that Eviolite and the... Oh my god. You know, you got the base 50 HP, 62 defense, 52 SPDEF. Its attack is actually higher than its special attack, which I didn't know, so that's pretty funny. Almost always going to have Regenerator when it does come. Unless I know someone who's paralysis happy, or if I think, you know, getting those crits with the poison is absolutely vital to our success, probably just going to play it safe and run Regenerator or Violite on this thing. Yeah. Mostly just wanted this for a Toxic Spikes, like I said. You know, it's a water type that can use Scald, so that's always a nice option to have. If I do opt to go physical, you got the Gunk Shot, Knockoff, Liquidation as options for it. Does get Ice Beam and Blizzard for coverage against dragons, I guess. I could be a degenerate and run Iron Defense on this thing. The Recover is really nice to kind of keep it healthy alongside that Regenerator. And then, you know, you got Haze as well, so generally with a passive Mon like this, people might try to capitalize on it and use it as an opportunity to set up on it, but having that Haze and being able to mitigate that is awesome. So, pretty straightforward Mon. Again, I don't know how useful it's going to be for us this season, but, you know, maybe it'll surprise us. So, we'll just kind of see what happens there. And then we had the very last pick of the draft. Looking at everything we had, I pretty much had the bottom tier to pick through and scrape through after everyone else had all their teams established. And I was like, you know, I've seen this Mon be talked about a couple times. I've seen people draft it. I don't know why people draft it, but hey, why not? Let's get our grass type. And we took Blossom. Now, if you're a Blossom fan, please tell me in the comments below what is so good about this thing. It doesn't have the worst stats by any mean. Decently enough defensive with the 95 defense and the 100 SPDF. Abilities are pretty much next to useless for this unless I decide to run Sunny Day. Or my opponent has Sun, I guess, but in which case if they have a Sun team, I don't know why I'd be bringing my low tier grass type against it. Has decent enough coverage moves for grass type, or a low tier grass type, I should say, with the Giga Drain or Leaf Storm, you know, and then you got Moonblast, Sludge Bomb, so it certainly has options it can take advantage of. I think the big appeal to this thing is Strength Sap. Being able to heal yourself as well as lower your target's attack is really nice. Pretty solid at checking some ground types, at least. If that's not enough, also have the recovery option of Synthesis or Moonlight. And then, you know, it's got screens as well, which is never a bad thing. Got Sleep Powder, so I can snooze opposing threats, whatnot. And it has a Quiver Dance, so if we decide to capitalize on that riveting base 50 speed and attempt a Quiver Dance sweep with this thing, you know, that'd be kind of cool. But that's pretty much what we got for our team. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I'm very excited to use a lot of these mons, and I think this team has a lot of really good things going for it. From what I've heard from other coaches, they've been ranking our team pretty highly, so expecting big things from us. And yeah, especially with Dragapult, I think this is a opportune season for us to take it all the way to championship and get ourselves another ATBA title. So that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you think of the team down below. Haven't thought of any nicknames or anything yet, so if you have any suggestions for mons, please, I'm all ears. And yeah, our week 1 battle will be posted. I have to double check, but I think it's next Sunday, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, we'll figure that out. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. As always, keep on rocking. This has been Roggin, and I'm rolling.